Hi, I'm the Global Runner and I'm 51 years old and I'm trying to break 2:30 in the Ottawa Marathon literally next week. So we're right at the end of the training block, we're starting the taper and we're going to make some decisions about important things like gels. So this video is going to look at the nutrition that I'm going to be using during the race. I'm not a great drinker, I don't drink a lot during training or races. And so ordinarily I take gels, and I've historically used Morton gels. Although in the last race that I did, I used Never Second gels, which I thought were quite good. This time, however, for the Ottawa Marathon, I've managed to sneak, somewhat fraudulently, some might say, an elite bib. And one of the perks of an elite bib is that you get to put your own water bottles every 5k, so you can put whatever you want in those water bottles, obviously assuming that it's legal. And so I need to make a decision as to what I'm going to put in those water bottles. So I've been doing some research on energy drinks and trying them out, and of course the most obvious one would be Morton. Now that's got a ton of carbohydrates and it turns into a gel in your stomach, which they say helps avoid sloshing around. The problem that I've always found is that I don't really like the way that it sits on my stomach. Like, it feels like I'm a bit bloated when I use the Morton drink, and it's almost like you have to wash it down with more water afterwards, otherwise it's just too thick sat in your stomach. So I wanted to try and avoid that. So I've been using other products, in particular Scratch I used last week. I had a few sort of GI issues. I'm not sure if that was as a result of the drink or something else. So we're going to be taking a last decision. Today I'm going to be trying the Morton drink just to see how that sits. Tomorrow I'm going to be trying the Scratch drink and we'll see which sits better, and then I'll make a decision after tomorrow as to which energy drink I'm putting in the bottles during the race. Aiming for about 60-ish grams of carbohydrate per hour. I know that's quite low, so we'll try and go higher, but I don't want to sort of tinker too much with things. So I'm planning on using the energy drinks, and each energy drink will have probably about 40 grams of carbs in. So if you think I'm using 60 grams of carbs an hour, I need 1 gram a minute. So 40 grams of carbs will last me for 40 minutes. I think the plan is whatever drink I'm using is to have a throwaway bottle of that at the start and sip that for the first 5k, and then ideally get early carbs in, ideally 40 grams of carbs nice and early. And the last 3 energy drinks are going to be flat Coke, and I did that in Montreal and I just really appreciate it. Like, when you get a hit of sugar, a hit of caffeine, and the flavor of Coke that you're used to that late in the race, I think that's going to be something that's really going to be beneficial, and it's going to be something I'm going to look forward to. Now the gels themselves, ideally I would use Never Second, but that is not looking like it's going to work out. I think I'm going to go with Morton. I have ordered, thanks to Rory Linkletter, some of these blanks nutrition gels, but they're not going to come in time, so we'll look at that in future videos. But the plan is carry 3 gels, have one handed to me, a big one handed to me, sort of maybe at 25k, have the energy drinks available. If I'm not ready to take on Coke or an energy drink at whatever point, I will pick it up and I'll take a swig and I'll swish it around my mouth and then I'll spit it out. And apparently the brain receptors, when they feel that swishing around in the mouth, recognize it as extra energy that's coming, and it fools the brain receptors into thinking that you're getting extra energy, you're getting extra caffeine. So I'm not going to do that every time, obviously. You obviously need to ingest some calories, but certainly with the Coke at the end, if I'm worried that the Coke isn't going to sit very well with the Scratch or the Morton, whatever I decide on, then I'll swish the Coke around my mouth and spit it out. So with all that said, let's go and try the Morton. I'm trying the 160 today. Interestingly enough, the 160 has exactly the same number of carbs as the 320. It's just the 320 has 320 calories and the 160 has 160 calories. So let's go on a nice jog on Saturday morning and try out the Morton 160 drink and see how that sits. Okay, so we've got the Morton here. Show it to the camera. So we're going to try this on the run and see how it feels. Just doing a nice easy jog today. You can see it's quite like a thick liquid. I've had this before and just the thought of it makes me feel a bit sort of, I don't know, queasy. I know this isn't the proper test because I'm just jogging today. So I'm not trying it out on a run where I'm really giving it some, but let's see how it sits on the stomach. Yeah, it's super thick. I'm just not a fan of it when it's going down, but let's see how it feels. We're only sort of a few strides in, but I know it turns into a gel in your stomach and they have that as like an upside. And I think if I only had Morton as the option, it would be fine. I could sort of get on with it. But nothing about this makes me want to drink it. Like the Scratch, at least, is like a lemon and lime flavour and isn't as thick. So I'm hoping the Scratch feels good tomorrow. But we'll see. Okay, so that will do, Pig. And in terms of a decision on the drink, it is Scratch all the way. It was night and day. Like the Morton just like sits on your stomach and feels like quite heavy, whereas the Scratch just feels like a drink. So I'm good with that. I'll use Scratch for the drink, Morton for the gel. So that's what I did today. I took the Scratch drink early on just to try it out. It was great. That was 50 grams of carbs, and then I put in a Morton gel just around the hour mark, so that was 75 grams of carbs, and didn't have any problems when I did that 2-mile effort. And everything felt okay, so I'm going with Scratch as the drink and Morton as the gels, and I'll have a caffeinated gel there as well, just in case I need it. So that is the decision. Rest day tomorrow, just going to do a bike ride just to keep legs turning over, and we are basically there. So exciting. Okay, so there we go. These ones on the left here are what I'm going to be carrying when I start. So I'll have a bottle with this in, which is 50 grams of carbs and 200 calories. I'll be carrying these two, and I'll be carrying this caffeine gel just in case I feel like it. These will be going in the bottles throughout the course, and I will also have some flat Coke for the final 3 bottles. So that is the fueling plan.